I'm not going to say what Joe says. I refuse. I'm not saying it. It's Joe always says like these like two things. It's like, hello everybody, or like, here we are, or it's about that time. Like he says like all those things. But anyway, I'm joined by my two good friends, Chris and Richie. Joe's in Cancun. The show goes on. We have an action-packed show. We're going to do a small recap of week 6. Was it week 6?
Yes, week 6.
Week 6. And then we are going to preview a little bit of week 7 with the usual situation. Fantasy sleepers and busts, game picks, a lot of game picks this week. So get ready. Spencer, you can roll the tape. I just said what Joe says. All right, let's just get started.
You play to win the game.
Touchdown! Can't wait.
Hello, fellas.
What's up? What's up?
So,
Good evening.
so Joe is in Cancun right now
Lucky man.
with a daiquiri, chilling with his wonderful, wonderful wife, Hannah. He's still in the fantasy chat. He got ripped apart when he got in. Everybody's like, get out of here, Joe. But I am actually, this is a first in Perfect Spiral history. We have 3 mics going on right now.
Well, lucky man first to start off the fact that he's on his honeymoon and he's allowed to access any fantasy football apps. So he obviously married the right woman.
Yeah. Well, she's also in the league.
Yeah, she's in the league.
Oh,
so.
well, then he definitely married the right woman.
She's
She's quietly 6-0, I think. Didn't she win this
No,
league?
she lost 2.
Oh, so she's quietly
The
5-1
king.
with no McCaffrey. What the fuck?
I know, right? Her whole team is like decimated, and she's still just pulling it out. So she drafted really good. But and you know what's funny too?
What?
Just on perfect timing, the Jaguars get their first win, while Joe is on his way to Cancun.
Did he watch the game?
He saw the fourth quarter.
Well, poor Urban Meyer, the only one who got a passport and couldn't party.
Yo, do you think he like went out after the game and he was just like partying, chilling?
I think he might have hit a couple strip clubs. I don't know, man.
I think Ohio is not England. So I think that he's definitely not as beloved, and he could try to explain U.S. football as hard as he wants. But I don't think he owns the same bars he does in London.
No.
So I think that he definitely boarded that plane and flew home and enjoyed the fact that Shad Khan did not fire him last week. So he's counting his chickens before they're hatching right now.
So, did you guys watch the game?
Yes.
Okay. Did you watch that end sequence of that game?
Which one are you referring to?
I'm talking about the one where they...
You talk about Visca's catch that...
No, well, before the LaVishka catch. So There was about a minute left, right? And I'm just going to tell everybody, Joe is going to recap this, I'm sure, to the high fucking heavens when he gets back from his honeymoon. But that last possession, when they had the 3 timeouts...
Yes.
They took a sack on the first play. Didn't take a timeout.
They didn't take the timeout.
They didn't take the timeout.
Correct.
Then he takes another sack. Doesn't take a timeout.
With the huge loss.
Yes, with the huge loss.
What was it, like 20 yards or something?
It was something like 20 yards.
Yeah.
And then didn't they run the ball? They did something very weird, and then they got super lucky. Oh, no, it was a LaVishka catch on third down.
The Visca catch, yeah.
Incredibly lucky. Horrible clock management. They're so lucky they won that game.
I really don't know what he was doing. I mean, after the first sack, I think I would have called timeout.
I would have too. I don't understand what he was doing. And I'm watching the game. I'm screaming at the television like, Urban, take a fucking timeout.
Because what was it, like a minute left? A little bit more.
There was... They got the ball with
Because I
about
think they
a
got the
minute
ball
20.
at a minute 38.
I don't know if I blame him. The only reason why... Are you really going for the win right there?
Was he playing for overtime? Is that the only excuse?
I think
overtime?
that's what it was. I think that's what he was doing. I think that he didn't have faith in his offense.
But he had decent positioning.
Yeah, but does he have faith in his offense? I mean, I think that's what it was. Is that it's not a matter of whether or not the position you have, it's the offensive scheme that you have, the faith in the quarterback, the faith in the wide receivers, the faith in the offensive coordinator, and I think that he didn't have any of those 3 things.
Well, he abandoned the run late in the third quarter.
Yeah, I was just saying that.
So,
I mean, the first half, he really wasn't. They weren't getting the ball down the field that much.
no.
Aside from Marvin Jones, aside from that, they really weren't like moving the ball. So I mean,
well, was Marvin Jones playing the X or the Y, or was he in the slot?
He was on the outside.
No, he was on the outside. Yeah, he was wide.
Well, that shows that Trevor Lawrence can obviously throw the ball. Now, are they game planning for that? Or is they going back to the Urban Meyer slot system that he ran at Ohio State? That's the big question. I mean, the best wide receiver they have coming up off the scrap heap in fantasy this week is also a defensive back. There's got to be a reason for that. You know, it's the fact that he still thinks that he's in college. He's utilizing players in minute game plans and schemes coming across the middle. So if he trusts a wide receiver who's also a defensive back because they can play both sides of the ball. I'm sorry, Urban. This is not Ohio State. We're not playing Iowa.
You can't get away with that for long.
Yeah, that's
gonna
not
get exposed.
That's not happening in the NFL. I'm sorry. Just because you ran a 4.3, yeah. Well, John Ross ran a 4.3. As a Giants fan, I can tell you right now, that's not helping us out very much.
John Ross,
honestly,
is terrible.
If it wasn't such a dysfunctional organization they were playing, that wasn't flying.
No,
I don't think that last sequence was going down like that.
No, they got lucky.
Yeah, 100%.
I think that he was so bad he got lucky. I think that that's what happened. I think that Brian Flores actually just didn't know what was going on because he's come from a great organization in New England, and he was very confused and flustered and didn't know how to realign the defense.
Yeah, they dropped back into like a deep zone, and then I heard today actually from Schottenheimer like he said that Trevor like operates the entire offense at the line of scrimmage. So for Trevor to see that change the play.
That's promising.
And to run that route to Laviska, that was incredible.
That's promising.
But, I mean, listen, they did get lucky at the end there. So
sometimes better to be lucky than good.
Listen, sorry to cut you off, but that offensive line, man.
Terrible.
I mean, the game's on the line. You allowed 2 sacks. Not just 1, 2. You allowed 2 sacks for huge losses. I mean, crunch time like that, your main focus has got to be protect the quarterback, right?
Yeah, but also as a defensive lineman, I mean, your only focus is ears pinned back. You know you got to. You know they got to throw the ball. But I mean, let's go. I'm a pit bull. I'm a Rottweiler trying to get not adopted. That's kind of the whole thing.
I mean, the majority of the season though, this dude Trevor has been running for his life.
Oh yeah, every play he's running for his life.
Welcome to being the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft. That's kind of what happens.
Listen, like Joe says, like they were a bad football team, and they're still a bad
They just had good players.
Yeah.
They had good players. Like they had decent pieces. You can move around. But I mean, as an organization, they were not in a good spot.
Yeah, well, there's talent all over the NFL, but
yeah, 100%.
So moving on from Jaguars, right? I want to get into the news today. I want to ask you guys about this.
Okay.
The Deshaun Watson news. I feel like we have to. You have to talk about it.
This was inevitable.
Inevitable. I mean, it was. We were talking about it on the steps outside. Like Miami was always involved with him, and it was just a matter of time. But I want to take a different angle on this, and I want to talk about Miami for a second. I feel like Miami's ineptitude as an organization has led them to this point, right? You're going to give up so much draft capital. You're going to give up 3 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, and possibly players for Deshaun Watson, who, granted, when in the league, which who knows if he's actually going to play with all the misconduct going on, granted, in the league, he's a top 5 quarterback. But you could have had Justin Herbert. And I say this every time I refer to Justin Herbert as Miami fans are sad. They are sad. Because you could have had Justin Herbert.
He's a stud.
Absolute stud. But you took Tua Tagovailoa. Now you're paying the price. You're paying the price of going to get a star quarterback because you missed out on a quarterback you could have drafted. Now you're getting a quarterback on a mega extension. When you could have had a rookie.
Yep.
Could have built around him. And you're giving up a lot of capital to go get that guy.
Yep.
Deshaun in Miami. Thoughts, Chris? Tell me.
Womp womp. I'm just saying, you always think about what you could have, should have, would have done in the draft differently. I mean, if Justin Herbert probably didn't get high in that dorm room one night and stayed for his senior year because he liked that cheerleader, he probably would be a Giant right now. And as a Giant fan, yeah, they probably would have drafted him instead of Daniel Jones. Yeah, things happen. You make your choice. You scout your options. Everyone wanted a tank for Tua, and everyone was going to the bank that day thinking that Miami got him in a steal.
Yeah, because
they didn't draft him number 1 overall.
And because they still played out the season.
They played out the season. They didn't even draft him with their own draft pick. They traded out of their own draft pick. But now, I don't think that Miami's organization is dysfunctional. I think that Brian Flores is a very good head coach. I think that they have a very solid defensive scheme. I think that what they're missing is a tried and true quarterback. And do I think that Deshaun Watson is what Brian Flores wants? That's the question. because I don't think that that's exactly what he wants. He doesn't want necessarily another runaround quarterback like Tua. He doesn't want an athletic quarterback. I think that Brian Flores wants more of a, dare I say it, Ryan Tannehill type. He wants a guy who's going to stand in the pocket, and he wants a guy who's going to run down the clock. He wants to utilize his defense, and he wants to run that scheme, and he wants to win games that way. So, I mean, unfortunately, he's been put in a situation, and I don't want to say unfortunately, but if he has the availability to get Deshaun Watson to save his own career and to save his own job, and the GM's in the same position, then yeah, absolutely, go out, get that player. You know what? If I sign him to a $100 million deal and you fire me tomorrow, I don't have to pay that money. That's going to the owner. But if it saves my job and we go to the playoffs, well, thank you very much. I'll take my $2 million next year as the head coach, and I'll take my $3 million next year as the GM. Absolutely. Sometimes you got to do what it takes to keep your own head above water. So I don't really have necessarily a problem with what they're doing down there in Miami. Especially, I heard today that there may be a 3-team deal, including trade picks from possibly Washington.
Now, who would get those picks?
Well, that's the thing. I was very confused, and I don't think that anyone really knows the details on that transaction. But I believe that Tua would end up in Washington, which means now that Washington pick would transfer, I guess, to Houston. If it depends on where they end up falling in the draft. I'm sure it's all conditional, I don't think anything's been signed on a dotted line yet. But if that's an option, I think that kind of changes the entire dynamic of the NFC.
Now, Richie, you said it was inevitable. Give me your feelings on that.
All right.
On Deshaun.
This was what, week 3? I want to say week 2, week 3. Mm-hmm. This is around the time Tua got hurt again. I'm almost positive, right? I'm almost positive that they had been linked to talks since that early. Of the swap.
Oh, I did see that. Yeah,
I'm not a fan. I'll be honest. I mean, yes, you're getting a franchise quarterback. Yes, you're getting a top 5 quarterback, right? But we spoke about this before. I'm not a big fan and supporter of mortgaging your future for one player, right? You're giving up. So this year, this Dolphins team, I don't think these losses are a product of Tua. I don't think that he's entirely to blame. I mean, going to that last loss.
The Jaguars' loss is not on him. He played. That was his best career game as a pro.
Exactly my point, right? Just a blown coverage. You allowed them to get that field position, and they kick it, and that's game, right? Yeah. A lot of these games throughout the season, I don't think the blame was necessarily on Tua and his inability to get the ball downfield or make smart decisions. I think that right now, like we mentioned with the Jags, I just think they're in a position where they have good players. They're just not a good team. And I think you can, if you're giving away all these picks for this one quarterback, right? Yeah. You're giving up so much potential to, I mean, you could trade those picks for disgruntled players, right? You can trade these picks to move up. You can draft at so many needs. You could change the course of your entire team.
Miami's been doing that for way too long, though, I got to say. I mean, at this point, I think that what you have to do is you have to understand what you drafted, and on top of understanding what you drafted, where you are. Now, if you have a quarterback like Tua, who you thought could run around and do this and do that and make magic happen, you didn't invest on the offensive line as much as you should have. Nope. And instead you invested defensively, and you invested on the weapons. I mean, I got to say right now, if coming into this season, if it was Deshaun Watson to Jalen Waddle, I think that Jalen Waddle would have went way higher in all of our fantasy drafts.
Oh, he would have been 100%. Easily a 4th or 5th round pick. Easy.
Yeah.
I think he would have gone even higher than that.
You think top 4?
I think top 40. I do. I honestly believe that. And I think that his 12 targets when Tua is in the game don't equate to 12 targets scrambling and running downfield. I mean, for heaven's sake, I got to say it, Tyreek Hill's a great wide receiver. But when 30% of your passes are on the scramble drill, but you complete them, you become the number 1 wide receiver. If 30% of your passes on the scramble drill are thrown wide, you're you're a bottom 80 wide receiver. You know, that's the difference between Will Fuller Jr. or Will Fuller the fifth and Tyreek Hill right there. I mean, that's really it. You know, I mean, Deshaun Watson has proven that he can make average wide receivers above average, and above average wide receivers great. You know, I mean, that's why everyone was so shocked they let go of DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, obviously Houston's in a complete and total rebuild. I mean, we all know that.
Yes.
That's coming. You know, they're just draining, they're gaining draft capital, and
they just released Whitney Merciless too. He just signed with Green Bay today.
Yeah.
I think that was a merciful thing, though. Pardon the pun. But
Merciless.
I really do think that was just mercy. You know, they let someone who knew that there was no chance for him ever. Maybe he'll get a text from Tom Brady this week, and he'll end up in Tampa. And then
No, he went to Green Bay.
No, he went to Green Bay.
Well, there you go. He got a text from Aaron Rodgers and said, "Hey, come on, let's go try to do this one more time." You know, I mean that's one of those things. I think that was more of a merciful thing, as opposed to a merciless thing. Again, not that pun was intended, but he got his opportunity, and I think that he spoke with the organization, and I think that they know where they are, and he as a veteran knows where they are. So even as a rotational piece, you know, we've seen this time and time again. If you're a rotational piece and you can come in and you can create havoc as a rotational piece, then you are useful within an organization, especially knowing that, like, hey, my clock is ticking. I only have a certain amount of time. So I wouldn't be surprised if over the next couple of weeks you start hearing his name getting called a few times. Maybe it doesn't happen. Maybe it does. I mean, I'm not laying a bet on the line, but I'm just saying that guy, he knows the clock is ticking. Father Time is coming for him. So he's only got a few more games left in this league that he can make an impact. And if the Green Bay Packers feel like he can be used as an extra piece, they're going to utilize him. He's going to be used in some defensive blitz packages. Somebody's going to come up with it. Somebody's going to say, hey, listen, this is the piece that we've been missing. That's why he's there. You know, he didn't sign for the league minimum to try to injure his head again. He signed for the league minimum to try to injure his head again to win a Super Bowl. That's what it was.
Now, not to cut you off, but I just want to say one thing. I want to circle real quick back to the Deshaun Watson thing. Quick yes or no answer from both of you. Does he play this year, yes or no? Just a yes or no.
No.
Yes.
No.
I'm on the fence. I'm going to say no, only because I feel like as soon as he gets traded, he goes to the exempt list. But that's just me. Now, this past Sunday was one of the most uneventful Sundays.
Hold on.
Yes.
Hold on. Let's cycle back just real quick. Why do you think that the NFL would have kept him off the exempt list, meaning he wouldn't have had to get paid for this long, to only now put him on the exempt list after he gets traded?
Because I feel like what they were doing in Houston was they were just taking him. He wasn't on the injury report, right? So it was basically just like a he did not practice, did not play.
Yeah, he's just
exempt,
personal, right?
But he had to get paid his weekly paycheck because that was the organizational decision.
So I feel like.
So do you think that was the union?
Yeah. So I feel like if he's traded, I don't think the league is going to let him play.
Well, I don't think the union will allow them to trade him to not get paid. So if you're going to trade him, he still would have to get paid.
Well, I mean, again, wouldn't it be contingent on what the Dolphins plan on doing? I mean, they could be taking the same approach as Houston. And be
they could just not play him.
Exactly.
They could keep to it and not play him.
They could just say, hey, listen, if we're trading mid-season.
Well, this is what I'm saying, though. Somebody had to do their due diligence, though.
Of course.
Oh,
of course.
Yeah,
You don't give up that much. If they're going to give up that much capital, you didn't.
You have to know the particulars.
Giving up. I don't think anybody's giving up that much capital.
No, they should not.
I'd say a second and a third. Second and a third, and we're talking about Tua, Watson, maybe a first, second, maybe.
I say you have to throw first in there.
Maybe 2 seconds.
I say you have to throw first because I mean,
what if you What if you throw a second?
Would you trade Tua for 2 seconds right now?
For 2 seconds? No.
No. You
Only
because
I haven't seen what he's done.
I have.
I haven't seen
Tua.
Yeah, I don't have enough to even make that decision.
I have. I've seen a lot of cart work the guy who drives the golf cart in Alabama and
Exactly my point.
Miami.
Exactly my point.
Well,
I mean-
that's exactly my point. Is that I've seen enough of it. The guy who drove the cart in Alabama, he was great. The guy who drove the cart in Miami, he drives a very straight cart. Obviously, we can get him right to the hyperbaric chamber that he was in for the national championship
that's the
game.
point, though. Like,
I think that we're done. I think that at this point,
you got to throw a first in there. You got to give Tua in the first.
why?
Why?
No,
why?
wait, for Watson?
Yeah.
You have to give a first for
You
Watson.
You have to.
No, I don't.
First for Watson.
You guys are
he
sitting
was
here
the
saying
passing
he's
leader
not
last year.
playing this year. So why in the world would I give up a first round draft pick
He's
for him?
literally was he not passing yards leader last year?
So if Watson plays, top 5 quarterback.
Yes,
But
he last year. What?
Okay.
He had no D hop. Dude threw for what? 4,800 yards.
It was something like that. But here's my
4,800
thing.
yards. Come on.
Rich, I'll say this. Chris, I'll say this. Listen. Quarterbacks in this league don't get traded like this. There's not really like a
right.
huge
You're right.
market for this.
You're right.
So it's like, what's going to set the market? Like we saw when Sam Darnold got traded. Sam Darnold got traded for a 2 and a 4. Okay. Nobody's saying anything about that.
Stafford and Goff.
Stafford and Goff. Stafford got traded for 2 firsts and Goff. Okay. You had to take the first with Goff because of the contract. Whatever. Fine.
What about the Bradford deal?
Bradford was a little ridiculous.
Yeah, there you go.
So Bradford was traded for what? It was something like it was 2 firsts as well. No?
I think it was 2 or 3.
It was a lot of
It
first
was a
round picks.
couple.
Yeah,
That was highway
And I
robbery.
It might have
think
been
that
3.
if you follow that path line and that logic, the league is noticing there's a trend.
So then you have to throw in a first for Deshaun.
No,
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
the opposite way. It went from 3 to 1 to a 2 and a 4.
Well, his contract is still massive.
I was gonna say, yeah, you're gonna have.
Yeah,
you're
but
gonna have to account
that's
for the
but,
discrepancy.
okay, so then you're not understanding how money works. So his contract is massive. You already signed him to it. So now I have to eat that money. So now I'm eating that money, which means I'm not giving you the draft capital. If you were still on a rookie deal, then I can give you more draft capital. If I'm eating that $100 million, no matter what plays out in his situation, then I'm definitely not giving you anything higher than a second. And if I can swing Tua back to Washington for another second, I'll give you a Tua and a second for Watson, and a second and a third from Washington for Tua, and Houston comes out with 2 2s, a 3 for essentially nothing on their roster.
Now, let me ask you, what would entice Houston to accept that deal?
$100 million off their payroll, and 2 2s and a 3, and no difference in their roster on Sunday.
So you don't think that if another team in their position, like say Detroit Lions, right? They're obviously not linked to him, right? But say Detroit sought Deshaun Watson. You don't think Detroit would offer a first rounder?
They would because
Absolutely not. No, they just got Jared Goff.
No, he's saying that if they weren't in that
if
position,
they weren't in that position, you don't think they would offer a first rounder?
I think they would panic and offer a lot because you
wait,
get 2
wait,
teams
hold
bidding
on.
against each other.
Yes.
I mean, at that
Hold on.
point,
Who's offering a first rounder? I'm very confused.
Detroit. I'm saying
if they didn't have Goff,
if they didn't have Goff, right?
If they didn't have Goff.
If they didn't have Goff,
And they're going to offer me a first rounder.
for Deshaun, you don't think another team would?
I think I'd rather have 2 2s and a 3 than a 1. I mean, it would depend on your draft pick. Right now, 0-6 Detroit. Yeah, I'd take the 1.
Because what's Miami 2-4?
Well, what's
Miami's 1-5.
Miami's
Are they?
1-5, and
Okay.
Washington's the same, I believe.
No, Washington got 2 wins.
2-4.
Washington's 2 wins.
Yeah.
2-4. Okay, I'll take those seconds early in the second. Houston's just building up picks.
It's smart because then
You
can
got to
flip them.
rebuild the whole roster. Now I lost nobody off of my roster because Deshaun's not playing. We already made the decision. He's not playing this year for our team. So you have to ride out him, his $100 million contract. I get 2 2s and a 3. 1 from Washington, 1 from a 1-5 Miami team. Or the 1 and the 3 from the 1-5 Miami Dolphins, who may not get Deshaun back and end up 3-14 in the top 5. So now I have 2 high-end second-round draft picks, 1 high-end third-round draft pick. that I can flip later on in the draft if I so see how to rebuild my team.
I don't even think Miami has a first this year. But anyway, enough on Watson.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Okay, furthermore proof that if they don't have a first this year, then definitely you want two high second-round draft picks.
So let's see what happens this week. I think he gets moved this week, personally. I do. I think that it's going to happen. It's just a matter of time at this point.
I agree.
So this past Sunday, like I was saying before, was one of the most uneventful Sundays of football I've seen in a long time.
We spoke about this.
It was so boring.
Scott Hansen.
It was either a blowout
that
or
poor guy.
It was just like very uneventful.
That poor guy.
It was either a blowout or
it was
nothing.
uneventful.
I think even he said the bewitching hour is not bewitched this week.
It was, oh my God, it was so slow. But
It is just so bad, all the blowouts.
So we're going to highlight 3 teams. We're going to highlight 3 teams, 3 games from this past weekend. Because, listen, we can't go over all of them. You know the drill. You listen to the pod, you know the drill. So here's the deal. I'm gonna go to you first, Rich. What's the team and the game you want to highlight? Go in depth. Give it to me.
So I would like to talk about that Chargers game.
Surprising.
I want to talk about that Chargers game. Here's why. Going into this game, this was supposed to be the most anticipated matchup of this week, right? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes.
I would say like nothing else was like relatively competitive, right? Now, going into this, Baltimore, they had a hot hand, right? Going in, Lamar had a very good performance week 5.
Quietly 4-1.
No, I think they're 5-1.
They're 5-1 now.
Oh,
They were
you mean
quietly
going into the week?
going to the
4-1.
game? Yeah.
Yeah, you're correct. Going into the week, they're 4-1, right? Riding the high hand. Now, me personally, I had picked the Chargers to win. I thought that pass rush was gonna bother. It was gonna bother that run game. It was gonna bother Lamar.
I agree. I'm with you.
I thought they were really gonna. They were gonna quiet him, right? I don't want to say they were gonna just completely remove him. But I thought they were gonna like slow him down just enough where Justin Herbert could remain on the field and he can go to work. You know.
Gotcha.
Boy, was I surprised.
It was shockingly the other way, right?
I gotta admit, I did not expect a blowout from either team. I did not expect a blowout. This was one of, I think this might have been the best performance that I've seen from Baltimore in maybe like the last year or two.
Now, I'll ask you this, right? Because it was a surprising game. I agree with you. One thing I want to ask you, and pose you this question. Does that game change your feelings about the Chargers?
No.
Okay. So you're still of the mindset that they are a contender.
I
in the
still
AFC.
think they're contenders. All right, so literally nothing worked for them. I mean, their leading rusher, I don't know if you know, was Herbert.
Yeah.
12 yards.
Yeah, Eckler was non-existent that game.
Yeah. I think he had 6 yards or something like that.
Yeah, it was
one
he didn't
carry
have
for
a
6 yards.
great day.
They could not get a thing going. I don't know if that's because they were playing a lot of talent over the past couple of weeks. You know,
Just kind of caught up with them.
yeah. I don't know if it's maybe just that time period in the middle of the schedule where it's maybe a bit of fatigue. I don't know, but I don't think this is gonna eliminate their contention. I mean, you had Marlon Humphrey, right, the whole time on Mike Williams.
Oh yeah, he locked him
Mike
down.
Williams couldn't do a thing.
This was his worst game by far.
And this year Mike Williams has surprised a lot of people.
I know you traded for him.
Yeah, I definitely traded him. Has surprised a lot of people. I mean, he's looking like he could be a number 1. Right?
He's been a number 1. He's been a possible number 1 for years. Keenan Allen's just a very good wide receiver. But when he's drawing
been
the
on Mike Williams
coverage,
forever.
when he's drawing the coverage, you're going to open up possibilities. The only problem was who was throwing the ball. And I'm sorry Tyrod Taylor wasn't going to cut the mustard. And I'm sorry that they've had Phillip Rivers at 35 with 9 kids wasn't gonna be able to spread the ball around.
Listen,
like it just wasn't gonna happen. I mean, listen, I'm a Giants fan. Eli Manning was the same age as Phillip Rivers, actually 2 years older, and I saw a decline in 2015.
Rivers was shot,
what was
though.
happening. Rivers was
I
just
agree with
shot
you. Don't get me
out.
wrong.
It just wasn't going to happen.
I agree with you.
He's a Hall of Fame quarterback. He's a great quarterback, but they needed new blood.
Here's the thing, though. Keenan.
God bless the Chargers, by the way. Can I just say that real quick? But from Drew Brees to Phillip Rivers to Herbert.
To Justin Herbert. I know.
I mean, whoever is the quarterback scout on that that franchise. I mean, they need to go to a better franchise. I mean, they need to be on the. I mean, dare I say the Dallas Cowboys or the Green Bay Packers or some franchise that's actually going to make some waves. I mean, they went into that home game the other day with no fans, and they were getting booed at home.
But that's one of the main problems with them. But what were you going to say, Rich? What were you going to say?
No, so yeah, I don't think. Well, regarding Mike Williams, first of all,
yes,
when Keenan Allen got hurt, I mean, he should have taken over that role. He should have performed. I mean, I don't think there's any excuses having a quarterback because DeAndre Hopkins has been in that situation where he is the only receiver with a bad quarterback, and he's putting up stats. He's taken over that role and he's dominating, right? Mm. We've seen dominant performances from Mike Williams this season because obviously he's getting the targets, but that's one of my reasons why to say what I said about Mike Williams and how he couldn't get it going this year. That game, but prior to that, I don't think, like I said, I don't think this eliminates the Chargers from contention or my mind. Mm-hmm. I also do think they might have just hit the Ravens at the wrong time.
And that's what I was going to say to you, right? That's what I was going to get to next. What does this tell you about the Ravens? Because this was a team going into the year, and this was a team that
a lot of questions.
They didn't have an identity.
Yes.
And me and Joe, up to week 4, we're still saying, what is this team? We don't know. Are they good? Are they bad? Are they Jekyll and Hyde? What is this team?
You saw the first game, and we were like, holy shit.
Are they? What's going on?
What the fuck?
Exactly.
Yeah.
In the words of John Bon Jovi, they're living on a prayer, and that prayer is that Lamar Jackson stays healthy.
But exactly, I think that's a lot of it. But what do we think? Are they contenders? Or are we still like on the outside looking in, like, hold up, like, let's wait?
I think they're fringe contenders only because, again,
not for a Super Bowl. Contenders for the playoffs.
For the playoffs.
Yeah. They're not a Super Bowl contender.
No. I think they're fringe, again, just because, again, in that playoff setting, Lamar's going to be forced to throw. Yeah. And if he's not making those throws, man, they're not going anywhere.
And that's something that we spoke about last week. That game that he played on Monday night.
Yes.
Against the Raiders. Was it who were they playing? The Raiders.
No, it was
the Raiders.
Yeah.
And he flipped that switch, and it was like, holy shit, we've never seen Lamar do this.
He was on. He was hitting Marquise Brown in stride, and he was throwing dimes.
I don't know if he could do that for 17 weeks.
He's one of the best football players that I've ever seen.
Yes. Oh, 100%.
And that's the thing. Like, I remember, and pardon the anecdote, but when I was 15 years old in 2004, I saw Michael Vick play the New York Giants.
Oh, beautiful.
In Giants Stadium. And as a Giants fan, I had season tickets and I was going to that game. And I kept telling my dad, I can't wait to go see Mike Vick play. And when that game was over, which I couldn't root for Mike Vick. He ran for, I think, an 80-yard touchdown that game. I couldn't root for him the whole time, but I had Madden 04 in my house and loved playing with Vick. At the end of the game, my father, grandfather, and all the old men in the section looked at me and said, who is that guy? Because he just changed the way that football is played.
Oh,
and that was kind of the whole thing.
100%.
You know, I think that's what Lamar Jackson brings to the table. He changes the way that the game needs to be considered. He's one of the best overall football players. I think that if you lined up Lamar Jackson at wide receiver right now, brought in a backup quarterback, like if you had a Taysom Hill and
throwing
Lamar Jackson throwing Lamar the ball,
he could have 1,000-yard season.
You'd have to cover Lamar.
Oh, yeah.
You would have to.
He would have 1,000-yard season.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You would have to cover Lamar. And I think this is what I'm saying, is that I think that you have to reconsider the way that the game of football is played. And kudos to Harbaugh and that offense and everyone that's part of that staff. They have revamped it and reconfigured it to his style of football. However, I don't think that you can rely on one facet of the game for that long. You cannot rely on one player, whether it be one facet, one player. You can't rely just on the pass. You can't rely just on the run. But you definitely cannot rely just on one player.
I think that team definitely relies on the run way too much.
Oh, 100%.
I think they exhaust way too many resources as running.
Oh, yeah.
I that's part of the reason why Fangio got upset.
Oh no, Vic Fangio's just a big baby.
Yes
Don't worry
and no,
about that.
because
He's
we
mile
spoke
high
about
crying
it, like,
right now.
We spoke about this.
That's just the Ravens, though. They're just like, I think that's just their thing. Like,
Oh,
just
please.
like,
They were thrown
regular
out of the end zone down 2 toutouchdowns. Oh, stop it.
Regular
Vic
season
Fangio
accolades
just got butthurt.
ain't for me. Don't get me wrong. Regular season accolades do mean a lot. I mean, if you're playing out of your mind and you're doing that, right? But when you're chasing them, I don't care.
And this is the thing with this Ravens team, right? And you just said it. I think this is a regular season team.
Yes, every year.
Every year. You could see
every year.
They'll win you're going to win double-digit games.
Yep.
Lamar's going to be an MVP contender. Yep. But when you get to the playoffs, it's kind of like, all right, well, show me. And he hasn't showed it, and that's why I think they're still like a fringe
Everybody
team.
bullies him on that pass rush, and everybody puts that pressure on him, and they shut down that run. They stack those boxes, and they shut down that run. And when you're putting him in those situations where he got to drop back and he got to pass, he's not making that pass.
No, and he hasn't. He did it once, and I haven't seen him do it other than that Raiders
He's
game.
really been, and he forces himself to run. He really I think he truly believes in his mind that he could run himself out of situations.
Well, I will say this really quick about Lamar, and I said this last week on the pod, and this was one of the main sticking points, is that I'm hoping, and like, listen, he looked good in this game against the Chargers again. He looked good. Not going to say he looked good. I'm hoping that Lamar is turning that corner, like I said last week on the pod. I think that that Raiders game was a little bit of like his Giannis game, right? Like Giannis in the finals. Like Giannis,
we're like, oh shit.
Yeah. Okay, he figured something out. Let's see if he could put it together the rest of the season, and let's see if they could put it together in the playoffs. Because again, show me, I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, do you have something to add on that, or do you want to talk about your game?
Nah, I just I think we can easily transition. I think that the Ravens will be in a dogfight in the NFC North, and I don't think it's going to be with the Browns. AFC North, excuse me. And I don't think it's going to be with the Browns.
I mean, not this Browns team anymore.
Hell no, this Browns team is decimated.
I think it's
sad,
going to be
though.
the team that I'm going to talk about. I think it's going to be with the Cincinnati Bengals. I think we're looking at the Andy Dalton 2.0 team. I think that we have instead of Marvin Lewis, we have an offensive-minded head coach. I mean,
I like this
you
guy.
got Joe Mixon, you got Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Uzoma at tight end, Tyler Boyd, who's leading the league in receptions coming into this week.
Is he
really?
Leading the league in receptions.
I did not know that.
Coming into the week.
There's how many receptions does he have?
Hold on, you want me to check that real quick?
Yeah, I'm kind of curious because
I did not know that. You know who I thought it was? I thought it was Cup.
I thought it was Cup too.
No, Cup's up there. I'm sorry, leading the team. Excuse me.
Oh, he's leading his team in receptions.
Leading the team in receptions.
Okay.
I apologize.
Cooper Cup is look like.
No. Cooper Cup's up there in 40, but Boyd's up there at 30, running out of the slot.
He has more receptions than Jamar.
More receptions than Jamar.
Really?
Yes.
Because Jamar's getting hit on the deep ball.
He's getting hit on the deep ball.
Well, that's
he's
the
getting
thing, though,
double-digit
as I
targets still.
think that the efficiency of the offense is something that's being very understated. I mean, if you look at that game against Detroit, right? And I know everyone loves a crying head coach. Everyone loves the press conference. Everyone is with them. Thoughts and prayers.
Thoughts and prayers. You say thoughts and prayers, everything's okay. After that. Everything's good now.
But here we go. I mean, you're down 10-0 at half. Then you're down 17-0 at the end of the third. And you 20-0 at the end of the third. You lose the game 34-11. And they're abusing you all over the field. I mean, Joe Mixon is a better version of Corey Dillon. You had AJ Green and Who's Your Mama, Who's Manzada, right? And I think that Boyd and Higgins are way better than that. There was no third wide receiver back then. And now, instead of
was there even a legitimate
Dalton,
second receiver?
It was Who's Manzada back then.
But these guys are way better.
You had Chad Johnson and who's your mama, who's Manzada. You know, back then during the Andy Dalton days. But now we're looking at the Steelers. Does anyone have any faith in them? And the Browns, I mean,
they look like a team to beat in the division.
I mean, Baker Mayfield may be able to throw a 66-yard pass through the air with his right arm, but he can't lift a cup of coffee with his left. So every defense in the league is going to know on that and tee off on it. Now they have no running backs. They got no Chubb. They got no Hunt. Odell hasn't been able to catch a ball since he went on that boat in Miami.
He went
on that boat in Miami 5 years ago. He hasn't been able to catch a pass.
Grade 3 AC joint.
You know, every time it's third and clutch or fourth and clutch, I mean, first down, he's great. Second down, he's great. Third down, coming across the middle, hey, business decision. Hey, business decision. That's all he does. And, I mean...
He looks like he doesn't want to be there.
He does. He does. And you know what? I honestly, though, I'll say this as a preamble to the sleeper picks. I think that Case Keenum's going to actually do a lot more passing than Baker Mayfield.
I mean, he's going to be forced to. He's going to be forced to.
He has to. Yeah,
I mean, no Kareem Hunt, no Chubb.
In the North, you're looking at these teams. I mean, you want to go over the course of that game, right? I mean, let's just go through the scoring real quick. We got a 24-yard pass from Joe Burrow. We got a 38-yard field goal from McPherson. Joe Mixon on a 40-yard out route that Jamar Chase blocked the last 15 yards down the field. Now that's a guy who wants to be there.
Oh my God.
That's a guy who wants to be part of that squad, right?
Couldn't catch a football until first week of the season.
Oh, very.
It's kind of difficult, man.
Rumors of my demise have been greatly exaggerated. Is all I would say there. And then he throws to the tight end, Joe Burrow, and he's mic'd up, he's joking, he's laughing, he's having a good time. They're all having a good time. And Detroit has absolutely no answer. And they've been a good football team. I mean, they held Green Bay close. They held every game close.
They were close against the 49ers.
They were close against the Niners. They were close against the Vikings, right? They were close against everybody.
They were in it.
They are a very good football team. But I think Cincinnati is actually starting to kind of click. I think that the offense is starting to get better. I mean, the last words that Joe Burrow said to Trevor Lawrence, right, when they hugged during this year was, "Don't worry, bro, it gets better." Right? And I think that's what he meant by it, is that, you got to have faith in your franchise. You got to have faith in your team. And listen, Cincinnati is a perennial loser. Everybody knows that, right?
Yeah, they got nothing but lose.
They've never won anything. But they look like they're on the way back to the playoffs. And I hate to say it, but in the AFC right now, I don't see anyone else coming out of the East. I don't see anyone else coming out of the South. So it's them and the West. And you got the Raiders.
Did you see the Bills?
No. He's saying divisions with multiple teams going to the playoffs.
That's what I'm saying, is that you got 6 teams going to the playoffs, right? So even if the Ravens were to win the division,
yeah,
they'd have to beat out who? The Raiders in the West?
Yeah.
Kansas City
I'm not sold on that.
is who you think is going to win it. Who else you got? Denver?
No, Denver's a pretender now.
You put Cincinnati up against Denver right now with Bridgewater versus Burrow. Who you got?
Burrow's picking them apart.
There you go.
They have a great defense, but I'm sorry. I think Burrow,
all of a sudden you come into a realization that they may be the 5 or 6 seed, and one more injury to Baltimore, and they may be the 2 or 3 seed going into that AFC playoff game right now.
They're right on their tail. I mean, I agree with you. I don't trust Pittsburgh as far as I can throw them because I just don't trust Ben.
I don't trust anybody on that team.
No, the Browns, I mean, decimated by injuries, and now
it's a shame because they look really good.
They have one of the best rosters in football, but it's honestly like Dallas Cowboys syndrome. You had the best team on paper. You're going to tell me Dallas the last few years has not had the best team you look at on paper,
100%,
and then they suck.
100%. Every year.
Just a quick note right now. Cincinnati has the number 5 defense in football.
Yes. Would have never thought that ever.
Wait, aren't the Browns 4 in football right now? Don't they have like the 4th ranked defense?
I don't know. They got torched last week, and they got torched.
Look that up, Jamie.
There is no Jamie here. we don't have this stat guy that just comes in. But gonna transition. I got my team. I got my game I want to focus on. And I told Joe about this. Joe's in Cancun, but I've been still blowing up his phone because that's just what I do. I'm going to talk about who I think is the best team in football.
I already know it.
I think it's the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys are for real. This team is the best team in football. I do not care that the Cardinals are 6-0. Great. They are the second best team in football. The Dallas Cowboys are the best team in football, and I'll tell you why. One, they are the most balanced offense I've seen in a long-ass time. Getting Tony Pollard going, having Zeke fresh for late in those games is excellent. They have one of the best receiving corps in the league. I mean, it rivals something like Cincinnati, Minnesota.
I think Tampa, to be honest.
Tampa. It's like CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, Dalton Schultz now is a top 5 tight end.
Yep.
You have Michael Gallup coming back, Cedric Wilson, Blake Jarwin. When they run 2 tight end sets. It's incredible. And then not to mention, let's talk about the defensive player of the year on the other side who locks up one side of the field, who's like the second coming of Deion Sanders and
Yes,
Trevon Diggs.
but that's all they have on the defensive side. Can we please start talking about that? Who has Dallas actually played and held to a low-scoring game?
They are in shootouts, but they do have a pretty good defensive line.
Why are we having the same conversation about Kansas City?
Kansas City.
Because
Go ahead.
Kansas City, a lot of their... All right. First of all, Sorensen's been getting torched, right?
Oh, killed.
Getting torched. But another problem has been the same issue that we've had with
If
Lamar.
if you line up Diggs on Hopkins right now, who you got?
Probably D-Hop.
Let's call it a 0. Let's call it a dead even matchup. Let's call D-Hop just runs nothing but outs.
Probably D-Hop. But here's the thing.
Who's covering Kirk?
Here's the thing, though.
Who's covering Rondale Moore?
And didn't what's his name just get? I mean, I'm just saying.
Who's rushing Murray?
Micah Parsons.
But,
Micah
yeah,
Parsons.
Micah
Is
Parsons,
beast,
he's a
though.
stud.
Micah Parsons has to deal with the running backs.
No, he's playing off the
No,
edge
but he's
now.
I was gonna say he got moved.
He's not playing contain.
Okay, you honestly, let's say they even run an even 4-4. You don't think that he'll find somebody? You don't think that he'll find AJ Green, Christian Kirk in that time frame?
All right, so we're talking, right? So since I'm saying Dallas is the best team in football, right? We're talking if you put them and Arizona against each other, you still think Arizona beats them?
I think you put the two of them in Arizona. I think, listen, you put the two of them in a playoff game, I think that's a different story.
They very well might meet in the playoffs.
The only reason why I think it may be a different story is because of who leads at quarterback, right? I have more faith in Dak Prescott at quarterback than I do right now in Kyler Murray because I just haven't seen him do it. However, if you want to talk about who's the best roster in the NFC, I think you have to look to the Arizona Cardinals. I think that Kingsbury is a way better head coach than McCarthy will ever hope to be.
That's the one, and I was going to get to that. That's the one downfall.
And I think that his game planning, and I think that Murray's ability is greater than Dak's. And I think that Dak's mindset and his knowledge of a system.
Dak's a better leader, though.
I was gonna say,
and that he definitely has a higher leadership quality, absolutely, and he has 2 better running backs, absolutely. That can change the course of the game. But I don't think that the Dallas Cowboys have yet to prove this year that they can go into a game and win 21-17 by running the ball and holding the ball for 35 minutes. Until they prove that to me, with Tony Pollard, you can say all you want about Tony Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott, but until they hold the ball for 35 minutes, 40 minutes, and win a game, then I won't be sold on them.
see, I don't think it's that big of a difference in terms of Arizona being that much better. I think honestly, right now I'm a John. I'm leaning towards Cowboys. But I do think it can go either way. Like I'm not mad at that argument. I do think those are obviously at the moment the 2 best teams in football, right? But right now I don't think Arizona is as dominant as you're saying, because
I wouldn't say dominant.
I mean they played the Jags, right?
Yeah.
They
they're not dominant.
barely beat the 49ers, right? What was that score? I have it here.
I think it was 17-10.
17-10, right? They barely beat the 49ers. They beat a decimated Browns team.
Okay.
That's what their last 3.
They weren't decimated at the time, but okay.
They lost. Chubb didn't play.
Wait. Oh, yes.
Chubb didn't play.
Chubb didn't play.
Yeah, that's fine.
Jarvis didn't play.
Okay.
Baker played through injury. Chubb got hurt. I mean, Hunt got hurt.
But at that point, I mean, Chubb didn't play the one game. Kareem Hunt went off for
he got hurt in the game.
200 yards. Baker has been hurt since conception. And I mean, what are we really talking about here now? I mean, at this point, you're just throwing shade to teams that aren't like. Why don't we just say that Josh Allen's a terrible quarterback because he lost last week to Ryan Tannehill? I mean, let's just put Ryan Tannehill in the Hall of Fame. I mean, this is the way the NFL goes. Sometimes game script and opportunity dictates things, right? So let's all be honest with ourselves and realize the reason why they're the only undefeated team left is because not only do they have a very solid roster, but they have very adequate, if not above average, coaching.
Yes.
Time management.
Much better time management than they did last year.
And they understand how to win football games collectively, right? I mean, they've obviously invested. I mean, on the defensive side of the ball, they have a couple very good playmakers. I mean, we all know that. I mean, they've been making plays week in and week out. They've been shutting the door. I mean, even when they get in those shootouts or when they get in those tight games. This is what I'm saying is that Dallas hasn't been in those tight, low-scoring games. And Arizona has. Well, Arizona knows how to nail-bite it out and to manage the clock. Do you trust, if you had 2 minutes left and the ball, would you trust McCarthy or Kingsbury?
But here's the thing.
I wouldn't even trust them. I would put it on Dak and Kyler.
And exactly, no, and that's what I was going to say because, like, Dallas, that's maybe the one weak spot about Dallas, right? And Dallas, listen, I'll agree. Richie, I'm with you. I'm with you, Chris, in both arguments because I looked at both schedules before I said that, and Arizona by far had the harder schedule than Dallas. It's not even a question. But Dallas took, Tampa down to the wire, and then after that, they've won 5 straight. They're
opening night. You only had a year to prepare. Yeah, not a big deal.
They're winning these games in spite of Mike McCarthy, who's an absolutely horrendous coach. Cliff Kingsbury used to be a very bad coach. Last year, time management was not his strong point.
Nope.
This year, he's gotten a lot better. They have better coaching. I'd argue that they have a better defense. But
yes.
I think that Dallas, that offense is so potent that if you can get just one stop, and they have that guy that could get that stop on defense, they could be a problem. And that's the only reason why I have them over Arizona. I know it's a little bit of a hot take because, listen, Arizona's undefeated. Arizona had the harder schedule. It could go either way. But it's just there's so much going on in Dallas that for a team that every year we're like, this is their year, this is their year, this is their year. And then now it's finally
it's just mediocrity.
Yeah, mediocrity. And now it's like, maybe it is actually their year.
Can we just say sorry to Larry Fitzgerald?
Yeah, right? What the hell?
Real quick. Maybe it was the curse of Larry Fitzgerald. They never won the
Are you
Super
saying
Bowl.
Ewing theory?
I'm just saying. I'm very sorry. Larry.
He said he didn't want to come back for personal reasons.
You're the great one.
Was it? I don't. It wasn't
He's not retired.
Retired. I thought he just said that he didn't want to come back for personal reason.
He said he just doesn't feel like playing right now. He actually has a podcast with Tom Brady.
Well, if you come back and they lose the game, it's gonna be on you. So don't come back until they lose the game, and then come back and win 7 in a row and go 16-1 and become the first team to win 16 games and run through the playoffs. Because I mean, I think, but see, this is what I'm saying is that I believe that the AFC is a much more
stronger,
superior conference than the NFC. And I think that's really what it all comes down to.
That's what it's been like all season and last year as well.
You think last year too?
I think last year the AFC was stronger than the NFC, yeah.
I think, see, this is
aside from the Bills.
Chiefs,
Bills and Ravens, Chiefs.
Ravens, Browns.
I did not think the Browns were.
I think
year,
right now, if you lined up Dallas versus LA, the Chargers, who you got?
I'm taking Dallas.
Taking Dallas?
Taking Dallas.
I'm taking LA.
just
I'm taking LA.
Go the opposite direction.
No, that's why I presented it. I'm taking Herbert over Dak. I'm taking Herbert over Dak, and I think that the wide receiver weapons line up equally. I think that Derwin James is just as good as Trayvon Diggs.
I don't think he forced enough turnovers.
But he's gonna stop the run.
I think you need somebody that's gonna turn the tide. That's gonna get the stops.
I don't think so because no one's gonna turn the ball over when you got Justin Herbert back there. That's what I'm saying is that Diggs is only as good as the quarterback is bad. Derwin James is as good as he is against the run.
He's got to stay healthy, though.
Those are the differences.
Yeah.
Is
Gotta stay
that
healthy.
if the quarterback
Those are
doesn't,
two.
if you shut down a wide receiver, you shut him down. That's fine. I just won't throw the ball over there. It's not a big deal. Take out Keenan Allen. I still got Mike Williams.
It's true.
I'll still throw the ball the other way. I'll still jump it off to Eckler. I'll still run the ball, and I'll still throw it to 7 other different people. That's fine. But now, as a defense, you're eliminated. You're eliminated as a defensive player. What are you going to do? Who else on Dallas? Can you name me like 2-3 other players on Dallas' defense that are actually making Randy Gregory? Jesus
Didn't
Christ.
Randy Gregory light up Mac Jones last game?
Didn't he light up his girlfriend like 5 years ago? I mean,
Jesus
Christ. I'm just saying, like, what are we actually talking about? Like, we're talking about people who haven't done anything in the league in years, and now all of a sudden they're supposed to be having resurgent seasons because they drop 7 in coverage and no one can find a way around them because they're playing bad offenses. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm a Giants fan. If Tyler Heineke lights you up for 30 points, you have to go back to your house and cry yourself to sleep that night.
Oh boy!
I mean, if you're James Bradbury, you should go and cry yourself to sleep, wiping your tears with the $100 bills that the Giants are paying you. But let's be real, the Dallas Cowboys haven't played anybody serious.
No, their schedule is definitely not as hard as Arizona. But Richie, real quick before we move on to the next segment, you had something you want to say?
No, I was gonna say. I wanted to see when the Cardinals bye was. Do you know when the Cardinals bye?
I think it's week
Check right
12, actually.
Yes, it is week 12.
Yeah.
I think we'll really see whether or not Dallas is legit is them coming off their bye.
You're right. I agree.
I think them because this is their bye week.
They go against Minnesota coming off the bye.
I think you can. Minnesota's starting to click.
They are. Listen, hey, I'd love to talk about my team. But
I think Minnesota's starting to get it together. I think once Dallas comes off that bye, and you see how they perform against Minnesota off that bye week, I think that's when we'll really be able to tell whether or not they're legit.
I think
I agree.
teams coming off a bye are pretenders.
all right, so we're gonna.
They're either too laid off, coming off of wins, or they're over prepared and they just had the extra time and the other team comes in limping. I don't trust anything off a bye.
All right, so we're gonna move on to the next segment. You guys are ready?
Yes.
You got your game picks? You got your fantasy sleepers and busts? All right, we're gonna move on. We'll be back in a little bit. All right, who wants to do their game? You know what? I'm gonna do my game picks first. Screw it. I gave everybody the rules. We do 5 game picks. One of them has to be an upset special. So we are going to do. You could do 2 upsets. You could do 2 upsets. So we're gonna do 5 games each. Joe sent in his picks, so I will read off Joe's picks. Joe wants me to tell everybody he went 5-0 last week. Congratulations, Joe. Me and Joe are tied on the year, 16-14. Joe really loves when he does well. We got to toot Joe's horn.
16-14, Jesus Christ.
So we're gonna go through the game
Just
picks.
paying rent.
All right, so I'm going to say Joe's picks for this week, and then I'll give you mine, and then we will go around, and it'll be Chris, and then Richie, you'll close this out. All right, so Joe's picks. Joe is taking Browns -1.5, Packers -8.5, Dolphins +2.5, Ravens -6.5, and Seahawks +5.5. That's Joe's picks from Cancun. Now, I'm going to give you my 5 picks right now. I need to get back in this bad. So I'm going to go rapid fire here with these. If my app ever loads. As everyone knows, we do FanDuel for the odds. All right, so what I'm taking for this week, I'm taking Cincinnati +6.5. I am taking Green Bay -7.5. I am taking my upset special, Jets +7 in New England. I'm taking the Rams, -15.5. And I am taking the Bears +12.5. That's my 5-game picks for the week. Chris, what do you got?
I'm going to give you a quick couple. I think that Carolina's going to blow out the Giants at home. I can't believe the Giants are actually only giving 3 at MetLife. They've lost by an average of 16.5 points at home over the last 2 years. That's just disturbing. They actually give more points at home than they do on the road.
Sheesh. That's ridiculous.
Their backdoor cover, though, however, as a caveat, I believe they're 18-1 as a backdoor cover over the last 2 years. But nonetheless, I definitely have them losing by more than 3 against Carolina. I think Sam Darnold knows how to navigate around MetLife Stadium, and I think that he will come home to roost. Unfortunately, it won't be against the Jets. It will be against the Giants. Also, I have Kansas City definitely covering that 4.5 against Tennessee. Even if they're in Tennessee, I think that Derrick Henry will run up and down that defense all day long. But I also think that Patrick Mahomes has something to prove. I think all the speculation and all the talk about his family is definitely going to motivate him.
Jackson Mahomes on TikTok.
I think that's definitely something that he needs to get past and get through and show that they're not a losing team. They're not only not a losing team, but they're a good team. They don't just beat the Redskins with Tyler Heineke. Or, excuse me, the Washington football team with Tyler Heineke. I do think that Miami is going to win outright as my upset special of the week.
Ooh, okay.
I think that Miami is going to come in there despite all this talk of trade, this and that. I think that Tua needs to prove his value. I think that Flores needs to prove his value. I think that they're going to have to come in, win the game outright, coming back from London, showing that they can win a game against, the Florida-Georgia rivalry against the Falcons. They're going to have to win that game outright. I think they're going to shut down Kyle Pitts. I think they're going to shut down Matt Ryan. I think they're going to shut down Scordarrelle Patterson.
Of course, my whole fantasy team.
And I think that Brian Flores is going to make it his life's work this week to win that game.
You got 2 more.
Okay, I also believe, I guess in another slight upset, the Philadelphia Eagles are going to beat the Raiders. I think they're coming in way too high off of that win after the John Gruden letting go. I think they're going to definitely rely more on Jalen Hurts. I think that Jalen Hurts has proved time and time again that he's a kind of a Lamar Jackson type. Like, I'd say a Lamar Jackson light, where he's maybe not as great of a passer yet, just like Lamar was in his rookie season. And he's maybe not as good of a runner, but he's more of a big body quarterback who can get both of those things done, provide him with a tight end, an open wide receiver, or let him run the ball. He's definitely going to make the game close, and I think that it's going to scare the Vegas Raiders. So I don't think the Eagles are just going to cover. I think they're going to win this game outright.
Interesting.
Now, as for my blowout special.
A blowout special. This is new. What's the blowout special?
I'm sorry, but I think that DeAndre Hopkins is going to go for like 3 touchdowns against Houston this week. They are 17.5-point dogs.
That line is crazy.
That
I would never
is
touch it.
a college football line. I would still take Arizona, but I think there's a slight chance on the backdoor cover because I think Kingsbury is going to show some mercy. But if you had to ask me, could Arizona win that game by 35? Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. It's easy.
That's a teaser. That's a teaser game right there.
So I think that it's all about whether or not that quarterback was Davis Mills or
Davis Mills is
David
starting.
Mills or David Wright or whoever an old white guy is. It's all about how many interceptions and pick sixes that he throws during that game. It really doesn't come down to how many points Arizona's going to score. It comes down to how many defensive points Arizona's going to score and how many points that Houston's going to attempt.
They could just get shut out this game.
Yeah, it's gonna be an ugly one.
Yeah, Houston
They only
gets
scored
shut
3
out.
points last week.
Yeah, they're terrible.
But yeah, those are my 5 picks for the week. Unfortunately, I had to end on that low note. But yeah, I wouldn't want to touch that game. But 17.5 points, it's just brutal. You gotta give it to Arizona. They're definitely gonna win this one.
Richie, give me your 5.
All right. So sorry.
You're probably the best at this out of all of us.
Thank you. I got first game. Panthers -3. I wouldn't be surprised if it's more than that. I don't know. That one could be either tight, depending on how Sam Darnold plays, or it could be fucking blowout. Easy. Next, I have the Packers -7.5 against the Washington football team.
Okay.
I have the Falcons -2.5 against the Dolphins. I still don't think the Dolphins are gonna figure it out. I think maybe if they get Deshaun, and if he plays, capital if, maybe they'll get another 1 or 2 wins. But other than that, I don't see them winning.
And on the rest of the season, no.
The rest of the season, I don't see them winning at all. What was that, 3?
That was 3. You have 2 more.
Got 3. Sorry. The next game I have is where is it? I have the Saints -5.5 against the Seahawks. With Gino,
Your team. Go ahead.
with Gino behind. I mean, it's gonna be tough. I think the Saints, they're coming off a bye again. They just had their bye. Coming off the bye. I think they're gonna pressure Gino.
Oh yeah,
I think that
100%.
because
he didn't look good last week.
Yeah, the Hawks don't have the best. Seahawks don't have the best offensive line, and I think
And the
New
Saints
Orleans has
don't have a good defensive line.
they have a formidable front seven, and I think it's enough where they could.
Oh, you
They can
mean
eliminate him.
pressure Gino? Yeah, I mean, I
Gino's been
think
so-
everybody
-5. This is not a good Saints team.
everybody on
Let's be
everybody
honest.
on
Going
both
into
teams
this season,
in New
I
York
had
will tell you that.
this is not a good Saints team. Not a good Saints team at all. But yeah, so that's 4. And
That's 4. What's your last one?
My upset is going to be the Colts against the 49ers.
Interesting. Okay, I was not expecting that. What's the
Yeah.
line on that one?
It's +4.
Are they home?
No, they're in San Francisco.
Okay. Wow.
Listen.
Wait, the Colts are getting 4
the +4.
in San Francisco.
+4 in San Francisco.
Well, Garoppolo's coming back this week.
Yes, he is. Garoppolo's
Yes.
playing.
Coming back. Here's the thing. Right now, the Colts are starting to put it together.
Trying. Trying.
I mean, their first loss of the season was obviously the anomaly because it's week 1, right? Let's be real. Like week 1 is always.
Well, then why are we giving the
wonky.
Cowboys credit for holding Tampa close?
I mean, they've won after that, so.
But I'm just saying,
It's not
if you're going to throw out week 1 as the anomaly, then throw out
it's
week
not-
1 as the anomaly.
I mean,
that
but
that
they-
is what it is. You can't have it both ways.
They're squeezing wins.
The Colts are just like a tough team to watch, though.
They are. Don't get me wrong.
Grind
But
them out, football,
I mean,
baby.
they kept it within 3 against the Rams.
They did.
Kept it with 10 against who was that? Can't even remember.
Don't worry. If
was
you
the
get hurt at halftime, Jim Irsay's just passing around the Johnny Walker.
Oh yeah, it was 10. It was less than 10 against the Titans, right?
Yes.
So I just think that they squeeze out this win.
You know what's funny though? Really quick about the Colts. I don't want to go too much on them because we got to get to our fantasy sleepers and busts. Carson Wentz is actually kind of playing good football.
Yes.
And I think it's getting a little like it's not being seen. He only has 2 turnovers on the year. He's definitely cleaned it up a little bit. There's problems on that team that aren't his fault per se.
Yes.
So I mean, listen, I agree. I think that they could put it together. That division is still not really.
It's not good.
It's not a good division. It's not.
all.
The
I think-
Titans are not the best team in the division. Like I mean, they are the best team in the division, obviously.
And
but
they're not good.
No, they're not a good team. So
Yeah.
they're Derrick Henry. They go as far as Derrick Henry.
Literally.
Takes them. But okay, fantasy sleepers and busts. The best part of the show. I'm terrible at this.
I'm so bad.
So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do this a little differently, right? We'll do usually each of us gives 3. Like we'll give 3 fantasy sleepers and busts. We're each gonna do 1 sleeper, 1 bust. Any position, right?
1 sleeper, 1 bust.
1 sleeper and 1 bust.
Each of us, right?
Yes. So Richie, I'll start with you.
Oof.
1 sleeper, 1 bust this week. It could be any position, anything that you could start in a lineup. Go. And explain your sleeper and explain your bust.
Okay. Let me start because I don't know it was 1 sleeper and bust. So let me just find.
All of us are collectively having horrendous fantasy seasons, by the
Yes.
way. Just so everybody knows, all of us at this table
My team is-
are having terrible fantasy seasons.
Yikes. Okay.
I've lost the last 4 weeks by a collective 3 points.
That fucking sucks.
That is my team name. My quarterback is Jalen Hurts. I named my team this year Hurts, and it truly does.
It really does fucking hurt. But go ahead. What's your sleeper and what's your bust?
All right, so sleeper first, Mecole Hardman.
Okay, interesting.
Because what they're going against Tennessee, right?
Yes. No defense.
Not a good defense at all. No. Obviously, I feel everyone's going to expect that Tyreek Hill and you're going to have Kelsey, right?
Yeah.
But they don't have the run game right now, and I think regardless, it's just going to get aired out.
Of course.
And the next best receiver, Mecole Hardman. I think he's going to have at least 15.
Interesting. He's quietly had a pretty good year.
Yeah. I mean, he's benefiting from no Watkins.
Yeah, of course. And Josh Gordon hasn't gotten up to speed fast enough. So, who's your bust this week?
My bust. That's gonna be tough. But even though he's on my team,
Oh no.
not in this league. Different league. I'm gonna have to go T. Higgins.
Okay.
I'm gonna go T. Higgins. So Cincinnati's playing Baltimore, right?
Yes.
Similar to Chargers, where Marlon Humphrey was covering. Mike Williams, right? I think I don't think he's gonna cover Jamar Chase.
Jamar Chase might be too fast for him.
I think he's gonna be on T. Higgins.
And T. Higgins has been a little slow.
He's been
the last few weeks.
he's been very iffy. He's been up and down. He's been hot and cold this whole season. He's getting the targets right, but he's not converting. I think he's gonna see a lot of Marlon Humphrey, and it's gonna be another upset.
God damn it! It's one of my only healthy receivers on the fantasy team that we run together.
Higgins.
Yeah, it's like we've lost everybody, and it's just like, God damn it! I hope he does. I hope he actually does well. But he's touchdown or bust. He's touchdown the pen.
Exactly, and I mean Mixon's doing well, so I feel like that's definitely gonna eat into some of those passing opportunities.
I like that, Chris. Sleeper, quick, speed round, sleeper and bust. Go.
All right. Well, I didn't have a bust prepared, but I definitely have Demetric Felton on this Thursday night going for the Cleveland Browns. I think that Case Keenum and they're going to definitely be behind in this game, and I think that D'Ernest Johnson, whatever, he's a very good running back, but I think that if you're looking for targets, especially if you're in a PPR league, you're definitely going to be looking for this guy. And I think that Case Keenum has showed throughout the past that he definitely relies on not only downfield throws, which I'd also put in an extra little 2-3 point bump, at least in the reception category for OBJ, although I don't really trust him in the crunch time. And Donovan Peoples-Jones, I think that he's shown in the past that he can definitely air it out, and he definitely will. I think bust of the week, it's kind of tough. There's a bunch of them out there. I think if you want to call him a bust of the week, I think Devonta Smith has kind of fallen out of favor, or defenses are just taking him away with the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't think that he's become part of the game plan. I think the trading of Zach Ertz was a big mistake. I think if they're not going to run double tight end sets, then they're only going to leave themselves up to one-sided field, zero zone safety, single high, and all you're going to have to do is cover Dallas Goedert. I think that the value of both Smith and Goddard have kind of been lost. I think that Jalen Hurts is even more running for his life now. There's really no other receivers on that team. With the double tight end set, at least they had the ideas to split the safeties, and you could kind of cut the field in half and maybe have Smith run across it. But if Smith's only ability is to run past people, that's not going to get you far in the NFL. It's really not. Ask Tyreek Hill; he's still running cross routes, and we're 6 years later.
Hurts is so inaccurate too, and that's part of the problem in Philly. I feel like there were some throws the last 2 weeks where I'm just like, dude, where are you throwing the ball? Like it's just not even in the realm of a receiver.
I think before we get to that, I think he just made. I said this to Joe. I think he's just bad decision making.
Yeah, I don't think he's.
I think he's legit. I think he can.
I don't think he's bad at decision making. I think that the offensive scheme is just bad.
He's missing wide open guys.
I don't know. Yeah, there's some times where like
I understand that, but it just sometimes it's a matter of I'm not missing you. It's just where am I throwing to?
Well, they also don't run the ball either, which is weird, right?
they don't run the ball outside of him.
Yeah, Miles Sanders has become
It's a
non-existent.
very odd offensive scheme. I mean, like I said, I drafted Jalen Hurts, and let me tell you something. What is he now? He's still top 5, I think, fantasy quarterbacks of the year.
Well, because his rushing numbers salvage him.
And that's why I said it. I said it when I drafted the year. Everyone thought that I was crazy. I said, hey, I wouldn't draft him to be my actual quarterback for my favorite team, but I'm going to draft him to be my fantasy quarterback. And everyone, I mean, it's not really helping me much this year, Hurts.
So I'm going to give you my sleeper of the week. My fantasy sleeper of the week is Damian Harris, running back for New England. Okay. I traded for him in a horrible trade. I immediately regretted that. I traded Najee Harris for a plethora of players. He's going against a terrible New York Jets defense. I feel like Damian Harris is turning that corner this year now. One, he's had fumbling problems all year. That's been a big theme with him, right? He can't hold on to the football. But when he does hold on to the football, he's quite explosive. And he's averaging almost 4.5 yards a carry. They're going to get him going. He's clearly the number one back there.
Patriots are finally using a running back well.
Yeah, and I feel like that's the recipe for a rookie quarterback, right? Like you have to
rely on the run game.
Yeah, you have to rely on the run game. You have to establish the run, get your rookie quarterback comfortable. Now, my bust of the week is a guy that pissed me off so bad on Sunday. I put him on the trade block.
Oh,
DJ Moore.
Oh, very good buzz.
DJ Moore. I don't think it's a product of him being bad per se. I feel like he's a very good receiver. I think Darnold has just regressed so much over the last 2 weeks that it's almost like I'm so confused as to what I'm watching.
Don't worry, the Giants defense will get him right.
Yeah,
don't worry, James Bradbury will get him right.
Will they though? Because
he'll pick him up as he's falling down and make sure he makes the catch.
So that's DJ Moore is my bust of the week, even though I have to start him, but I would never bench him anyway. But I'm not expecting much from him.
Such a shame, such a good player.
I know, right?
Man, that hurts my heart.
The first 3 weeks with him in fantasy was like, holy shit, this is incredible. And now
that's the season he should have had.
What are you doing?
Season he should have had, but
Listen, guys, this was an absolute blast. The first 3-person pod in Perfect Spiral history. Joe will be back next week. He should be back next. I don't exactly know when he's coming back this week, but Joe will be back next week. Richie,
sadly, I'll be gone.
Oh, you guys will be back though. We're gonna do this again. We have Hopefully. 3 mics now.
Well, I appreciate the time. Thank you, John. Thank you guys for having me. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, John.
Awesome, guys. It was a great time. If you guys aren't already, this is where I'm at. This is where Joe is needed. I always forget the little thing where it's follow us on all the social medias. Twitter, we're doing a lot of crazy Twitter things. We do the play-by-play. We do a lot. Well, it's not really play-by-play. It's just we kind of live tweet all the games on the Twitter. TikTok is popping. My dog makes game picks. At Perfect Spiral Pod and at PSP Pod on Twitter. So, guys, if you aren't already doing that, follow us, all socials. 5 stars, download, listen, enjoy. Everyone enjoy the games this week. Have a great time. See you next week.